Very good morning, students. This is English 8th standard supplementary lesson. The three questions. The title of this lesson is The Three Questions. Let's see section 1. There was a king who had three questions in his mind that if he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who were the right people to listen to and whom to avoid, and above all, if he always knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. So, in this passage, they are just explaining in this story there was a king. There was only one king. In that king, his mind had three questions always annoying in his mind. The three questions are: he wanted to know the right time to begin everything. If he is doing any task, means he wants to know in which time. In which time, if I begin any work, means I would get a success for doing that work. So he wanted to know which is the right time to begin everything. Whether it is any work, means he wants to know which is the right time. Next question: if he knew who were the right people to listen to and whom to avoid. In his second question, a lot of people are advising me. I don't know which person's advice I should take. At the same time, which person's advice I should not take. So he is asking his second question. He wants to choose the right people to listen. Okay, lot of guiding, but his confusion is to whom I should listen, at the same time to whom I should not listen. This is his question. And above all, his third question: if he always knew what was the most important thing to do. Though I had a lot of works, I must know which work I have to give a preference. I had a lot of tasks to do in my day-to-day life, but I don't know. I should give a preference. This work is the very important. At the same time, this work is not important, so I can do it later. Like that, I want to know for which work I must give importance. Then also he is saying he would never fail in anything he might undertake. At the same time, I have to do any work. At the same time, if I am doing any work, means I should do that work to reach the success only. I should not fail in any works. So this is his questions, the three questions. He wants to know which is the right time, who are the right people, which is the most important thing. So these three are the questions of the king. Next paragraph. And this thought having occurred to him, he had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action and who were the most necessary people and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. Learned men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. So now the king declared, proclaimed means declared. Declared means just announced. The king announced after getting occurred these thoughts of that. He announced to all the people, if you say the right person, if you have given a right suggestion to me for these three questions, I am going to give you a reward. So learned men, educated people from the country, they all came, they all have given their suggestions to the king, but their answers are completely different. So the king is not satisfied. In reply to the first question, some said, for the first question, which is the right time to do. In the reply to the first question, some said that to know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days, months and years and must live strictly according to it. So that they are some people explained for their first question answers. If you want to do, if you want to know about the right time, means you have to divide them by days, months and years, and also you have to follow all the works, all the tasks in a strict way. You should not do anything carelessly. You have to be very careful. At the same time, you have to separate, you have to advance a table of days. Okay, you have to draw up in advance a table of days. You have to do that. So only thus said, they could everything be done at its proper time. Only if you are planned very well, means you can do very well. At the same time, you can do in their proper time. Others declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action. Some people said that. Some said you have to pre-plan very well. If you pre-plan, means you can achieve everything in a right time. But some people say it was impossible. It was not possible to decide before. Okay, because every action, if you want to do it, every action in a proper time means it is not possible. It will not be happen. Some people said, but that not letting oneself be observed in an idle pastimes. Okay, so if you are just giving importance to few works means few works at the same time, if you want to do all the works in a properly means, you cannot use other times in a lesser. Only you have to be idle means laziness. For other times you have to cross in an idle manner. One should always attend to all that was going on. Okay, and then do what was most needful. Others again said that however attentive the king might be to what was going on, it was impossible for one man to decide correctly the right time for every actions. Now they are saying you have to attend. You, as a king, you have a lot of jobs in your career, so you have to listen all the problems. At the same time, you are the only one person. It was impossible. Because you are only one person, it was impossible for one man to decide correctly. In all the time, you cannot be correct. Okay, sometimes human is error like that. You can sometimes your decisions must be right, sometimes your decisions must be wrong. But if you want to be all the time right means, definitely it is not possible, some people said. But that he should have a council of wise men who would help him to fix the proper time for everything. So if you want to success in all time means, you have keep some people, wise men means knowledgeable persons. You have to keep some knowledgeable persons. They can help you to fix the proper time for every actions you want to do. Let's see the next paragraph. But then again others said there were some things which could not wait to be laid before a council, but about which one had at once to decide whether to undertake them or not. Okay, so some already said their answers, but again some people are saying that a person who wants to do all the actions in a right time, at the same time successful means that person previously know about the actions. Okay, so then only he can do all the works successful. But in order to decide that, one must know beforehand what was going to happen. In case if you know about your future, in your future this is the action, it is going to be held, means you can judge. Okay, you know already the previous actions, you know already your future actions previously means you can answers, you can take a very good decision. But it is only magicians who know that. Magicians only know what is going to happen like that, and therefore in order to know the right time for every actions, one must consult magicians. Some people said magicians knows their future, so you can consult your magicians to take a right time, to take a right decision before action, for all actions you want to know. Next, equally various were the answers to the second questions. So the same wise they also told the answers for the second question also. Some said, who are the most necessary people to keep with the king? So some said the king most needed were his counselors. Some people said counselors were the most needed people. So others said the priests were the most needed people. Others said the doctors were the most needed people. While some said the warriors were the most necessary. Some people said warriors were the most necessary people. Next, to the third question, as to what was the most important occupation, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. So the third question, as for the third question, most important occupation, some replied that science was the most important thing. Others said it was a skill in warfare. Some people said warfare means people who are skilled in a war field, warriors like that. Others again that it was a religious worship, like that a priest, like that people who are in a strong belief in their religious. So some people said religious worship is the best field to concentrate. All the answers being different, so all the answers are being different, the king agreed with none of them. The king was not satisfied. He is not ready to understand anyone's works and gave the reward to none. He didn't give any reward to any people because their answers are not satisfied to the king. But still wishing to find right answers to his questions, he decided to consult a hermit, widely renowned for his wisdom. Okay, so now the king was not happy because he didn't find the answer. So he decided. He decided to meet a hermit. He is famous for his wisdom. He had a great knowledge. So the king decided to visit the hermit. The hermit lived in a wood which he never quitted. Okay, so the hermit lived in a wood. The place of a wood he is living, but he never come out from that place, and he received none but common folk. That hermit only meeting common people. Otherwise, he didn't receive any other peoples like a king or a prince or a duke. Like the people he didn't meet till now. So the king put on simple clothes and before reaching the hermit's cell, dismounted from his horse, leaving his bodyguard behind, he went alone. So now king decided to meet that hermit. So he had heard that the hermit hadn't meet any superiority persons. So he decided to meet him as a simple person. So just he worn normal clothes, and also he traveled to that place. He came alone after leaving his bodyguard. He said, "You have to wait. I need to visit that hermit. After that, we can read that. So you have to be alone. I want to be alone. So just you also be here." Telling the king. Also, king wanted to meet the hermit. So he went to his place. When the king approached, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. Okay, it shows the hermit was living in a hut. Okay, in that hut he was living. When king approached, the hermit was doing some works. He was digging. Okay. Now our king approached the hermit. Finally, the king approached the hermit. Hermit means a person who retired from society. A person who retired from society reasons at the same time for a religious purpose. A person who is giving more important for religious purpose is called a hermit. Okay. Now hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. So this person, very simple person, he is just living in a hut. Hut means a shelter used for living. It's a shelter. It's a simple shelter. It's called a hut. Next, he was digging. Digging means by using a tool, by using a spade, a tool, sharp-edged metal used for digging purpose. Okay. By using a spade, he was just digging the earth. Okay. Now he greeted him and went on digging. The hermit was frail. The hermit was frail means physically weak. That hermit was physically weak and also weak. And each time he stuck his spade into the ground and turned a little earth, he breathed heavily. So he was weak. Such a person, he was a weak person. He just digging on the earth. At the time he was, every time he is getting a stuck. Also he is breathing heavily, just expelling his hair heavily. The king went up to him and said, "I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions." Now, king declares, king announces, king explains to the hermit that I meet you. Really, I have come to meet you, wise hermit, to ask you the 3 questions. I had 3 questions. I need to know the answers for 3 questions. So I want to ask 3 questions to you, hermit. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? So first question he is asking about the right time. How to do a right thing in the right time. Next, who are the people I most need? And to whom should I? Okay. Which people are most necessary? Who are all not necessary? Therefore, pay more attention than to rest. Okay. If I know the answer to whom I should give importance means I will give importance to that people. At the same time, to whom I should not give importance means I will not give importance to the people. Next question, and what affairs are the most important? What affairs are the most important? Of matters of personal or whether it is a public. So, but for which affairs I should give importance, most importance? Need my first attention. Next, the hermit listened to the king but answered nothing. Now the hermit was listening the king, but he didn't tell any answer. He just spat on his hand and recommenced digging. He didn't tell anything, but he did just eject saliva from his mouth, and also applied in his hands. Then he started to recommence, begin again. Recommence means begin again. He started to dig again. Okay, he didn't tell anything. He started to do his work again. Next, you are tired, said the king. Now king said to the hermit, you are tired. Let me take the spade and work while for you. Spade means a tool, sharp-edged metal used for digging. Okay. Now the king is asking, you are tired, hermit. So I am ready to do your work. Now hermit said, thanks, and giving the spade to the king. He has given the spade to the king. He sat down on the ground. On the ground, the hermit sat down. Now the king is ready to work. When he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. After 2 beds, beds means in this case a plot of ground in which plants are growing. Okay, a plot of ground in which plants are growing is called the beds. After he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. He again repeated his questions. The hermit again no answer. He didn't tell again no answer, but rose. Rose means rise. Okay, rise, rose, risen. Okay, in this case rose means stand up. He stood up, stretched out his hand for the spade. He asked the spade and said, now rest a while and let me work for a bit. Now give that spade to me. I need to work for some time. You have to take some rest. Hermit replied. But the king did not give him the spade. But the king was not ready to give it. Continued to dig. He was doing his work continuously without giving that spade. 1 hour passed. Okay, 1 hour he did the work, and also another 1 hour also passed. The sun began to sink behind the trees. And the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, okay, now sun dropped. It was mostly evening also crossed. Now the king at last stuck. Now king was also tired and also stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man. Actually, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. Okay, I came to this place to know my answers for my questions. If you can give me none, if you are not ready to give answers to my question, tell me so. If you don't know means tell me the reason, and I will return home. Here comes someone running. Okay, suddenly they both are talking. Now said the hermit is saying, here comes someone running. One person is running and also coming to this place. Let's see who it is. Now hermit said, let's see who it is. The king turned around and saw a bearded man come running out of the wood. The man held his hands. Let's continue from this paragraph, students. The king turned round and saw a bearded man come running out of the wood. So from the wood, a person he is looking at a bearded man. Bearded means having hair on the cheeks and chin. Okay, that person come running from the wood. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach and blood was flowing from under them. Okay, that person was attacked by someone. That person especially was stabbed by the sword by someone. When he reached the king, he fell fainting on the ground. At the time he reached the king, he fell means he fall from the place. Fainting on the ground means very weak, moaning feebly. He is very weak now. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. They just started to remove the clothes. That person's stomach. Okay, there was a large wound in his stomach. Now the person's stomach, there was a large wound. The king washed it as best he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and with a towel the hermit had. Okay, by the help of the handkerchief and also the hermit's towel, they started to fasten that bandage. But the blood would not stop flowing, and the king again and again removed the bandage, soaked with warm blood, and washed and re-bandaged the wound. Okay, now the king is doing again and again. Frequently, just he is removing that bandages and also just soaking into the water and into the warm blood. After washing that one, he started to re-bandage. When at last the blood ceased flowing, finally the blood stopped flowing. The man revived and asked for something to drink. Now just revived means restore consciousness. Okay, now he was unconsciousness. Now he was consciousness, and asked for something to drink. He asked some water to drink. The king brought fresh water. Now king brought fresh water to that bearded man and gave it to him. Okay, now he gave the water. Meanwhile, the sun had set and it had become cool. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. Now the time is a sunset. It is also now cool. The place is now cool. So the king and the hermit both carried that wounded man into the bed. Okay, lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes. The man closed his eyes and also feels comfort and was very quiet. But the king was so tired from the walk and from the work. Now king was worked very hard from the morning, so he was very tired. He had done that. He crouched down on the threshold. Okay, threshold means in the entrance of the hut is a threshold. Crouched means just to be fall because of a tiredness. Okay, he fell down there. At the same time, he started to sleep, also fell asleep so soundly he slept all through the short summer night. All over the night he soundly slept in the same place. When he awoke in the morning, the next morning, the king awoke. He couldn't remember, he couldn't realize where he was. And also some person who was the stranger, that bearded man just lying on the bed, he is looking very deeply to the king. Okay, he looking very deeply to the king with a shining eyes. Shining eyes means it shows that there was a pleasant eyes, just showing a person, just seeing a person with a gratitude, very gratitude. That person said, "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, very weak because he was also wounded, very tight person. He said, forgive me means please apologize me, please forgive me. When he saw that the king was awake and was looking at him, now just king awoke from that place and also looked at this person. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. King said, "I don't know who you are, and also there is no reason to forgive you." Okay, to give apologize, there is nothing happened between us. He said, "You do not know me." That bearded man said, "You do not know me, but I know you." Okay, because I am your enemy. He said, "I am your enemy. I am your enemy. One time you have executed my brother." Executed means just put a punishment, socially sanctioned punishment to one person. So now the king had given already punishment to the bearded man's brother. Not only the punishment, and also he has seized, he has taken all the property as government's property from that bearded man. Okay, now I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back. So yesterday I came to kill you. I had heard that you are coming to meet this hermit alone. Okay, you are coming to meet this hermit alone. I know the reason, I know this plan. So I decided yesterday at the time after meeting this hermit, you will come alone on the wood. So at the time I will hide in the ambush and also I will start to kill you. Yesterday this is my plan. But what happened? Yesterday you did not return till the evening. So I came out from my ambush to find you. So I came out from the place. I have hidden some place. After a long time I cannot see you. You cannot come there. So I came from that place. So and came upon your bodyguard. At the time I crossed some one person, that is your bodyguard. They recognized me. They had found their identification about me and about my details and wounded me. They started to wounded me. They started to stab me. I escaped from them, but should have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I escaped from that person, but though I escaped, but I was wounded heavily. So I was, and also there was a very blood flowing also in my stomach. But you helped me. Now that bearded man is saying to the king, you helped me strongly. I wished to kill you. Yesterday I wished to kill you. I wanted to kill you, and you have saved my life. But what happened? Yesterday I thought to kill you, king. But what happened? The king saved me. You saved my life. Now if I live and if you wish it. Now I'm saying, now that person is saying, if I live means if you wish it. As per your wish, I'm living now. I will serve you as your most faithful slave. Okay. Slave means an attendant, servant. So now that person is saying, I'm ready to do any work as a slave for you. At the same time, I will bid my sons do the same. Forgive me. Please forgive me for planning to kill you. If you say means, if you give a life means, I will serve you as a slave, and at the same time, I will say to my sons to work hard, to work hard as a slave for you also. The person said. King was very glad to have made a peace with his enemy so easily. Now, so easily, King became friends with his enemy, have gained him for a friend, and also that enemy now as a friend, he not only forgave him, just now King forgave him. King also accepted his apologies, not only accepting his apologies, and also saying he would say to his servants and his own physician, okay, I will send my servants. Now King is saying, I will send my servants and also my own physician, okay, doctor. Physician means doctor. I send a own doctor to you to treatment, and also I promise now I will just restore all your property I have taken. Already I have taken, you told that I have taken your properties. Definitely I will give all the properties which I have been taken. Okay. Having taken leave of the wounded man. Just now King come out from the place. The king went out into the porch and looked around for the hermit. Okay. Now just king searched that hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to beg an answer to the questions he had put. Now, because his mind is thinking that after now I need to meet that hermit to ask answers of my questions. The hermit was outside. Now the hermit was outside on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. Yesterday the king and the hermit had dug the earth for the beds, and also now he is just sowing his seeds. He is sowing his seeds in that beds. The king approached him and said, for the last time I pray you to answer my questions, wise man. Now the king is approached the hermit and also asking, this is the last time I need to know the answers of my questions yesterday I have told. Now the hermit is saying, you have already been answered, said the hermit. Hermit said that you have already answered for your questions. Still crouching on his thin legs and looking up to the king. Looking up at the king, just he is looking at the king, he stood before him. The king is standing and also he is on his knees, just sowing the seeds. He just looked, hermit looked at the king, said, you have already answered. Now the king is shocked. How answered? What do you mean? Asked the king to the hermit. Do you not see? Replied the hermit. Hermit is saying, do you not see? If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday what happened? You just pitied. Pitied means you just worried about my weakness. I was just digging the ground. You saw that I'm worrying because of this work. You just helped me yesterday. Okay. You helped me and had not dug these beds for me. Okay. If you didn't do help means I cannot get these beds for me to work now. But had gone your way. In case not helping to me, you just go in your way means what will happen? That bearded man would have attacked you. Definitely that bearded man would have attacked you. In case he would kill you also. And you would have repented of not having stayed with me. Okay. If you do not stay with me yesterday, what will happen? You should have returned it in your same way alone. That bearded man would attack you yesterday, definitely. Okay. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. The most important time was you were digging the beds yesterday for me. That is the most important time. And I was the most important man. Yesterday for you, I am the most important man. And to do me good was your most important business. Yesterday you helped me. Which means you had done a good things to me. That is the most important business you have to do. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, okay, that is the first work. In the second time, what happened? That person, with a wounded person, he ran to us. That was the most important time when you were attending to him. That person yesterday he was bleeding and also he was approached us. What happened? What you did? You just helped to that person. That is the most important work, okay, you are doing yesterday. If you had not bound his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. Okay, yesterday you helped to that person, you just dressed a bandages to that person to save his life. That is the only reason. Now he was friends with you, and also he was ready to work as a slave with you. So that is the only reason you did good to that person. So he was the most important man. Yesterday he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. Okay, so he is saying that you helped to that person, you made a good things to that person. That is the most important business for you yesterday. Remember, then there is only one time that is important. Now again, now he is saying that there is, in this world there is only one time that is important. Now refers present time. So present time is always very 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 important to all the people, because past is past. Past is not in our hands. At the same time, future is not also in our hands. What may happen in the future, we cannot do that. But it is the most important thing, present, because it is the only time when we have any power. We can do whatever we can think in the present time. So present time is very very important. We have also any power to decide to do in the present time. The most necessary person is the one with whom you are. Okay, in a place you are just any one person near with you, means that a near person is very very important person in your life. For no man knows whether he will ever have dealings with anyone else. Okay, you know a lot of persons, you know all the persons in this world, all the famous persons yourself, but they are all not important. Who is near with you at the moment is the most important person. Okay, and the most important affair is to do that person good, and also the most important affair is to do that person good. You have to do good things to that person who is near you. That is the most important affair. Okay, so now the author is finally saying that the most important person for all people who is near you is the most important person. At the same time, the most important affair, you have to do a good things to the people who are all near you. Okay, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life. So God created people, and also they sent us into this life to live, not only to do a good things to all the people who are all near us. Okay, so these are the lessons which has been explained in this story. So that's it, students. This is the novel The Three Questions. It was written by author Leo Tolstoy. So Leo Tolstoy was born in 1828, and also he was died in 1910. He was a Russian writer who is regarded as one of the greatest authors of all time. An all-time favorite. He is an all-time greatest authors in this world. He is best known for the novels War and Peace. It was published in 1869. The War and Peace, and also Anna Karenina, 1877. So these are the works which had been done by Leo Tolstoy.